Hey everyone, Icy Cat here again. I've spent the last week playing the beta and have really been enjoying my favorite mode of any Rainbow Six title, Terrorist Hunt. The bomb defusal version of this mode is playable as part of the E3 build that's been making the rounds all summer, and the beta access gave us Classic mode. This fun experience is a blast to play with friends, or lone wolf. Here's my review of Terrorist Hunt for the Rainbow Six Siege beta. While it can be played alone for a solo experience, Terrorist Hunt has always been intended as a co-op game mode in every Rainbow Six title, and it's no different here. If you're not familiar with it, Terrorist Hunt pits you and your friends against a team of anywhere from 20 to 30 or so enemy AI sprinkled around the map. In Siege, they've been given various behavior types that react in different ways. There's ambushers that will lie in wait for you when you least suspect it. There's roamers that go around the map and walk patrols searching for an enemy to encounter. They tend to respond more aggressively than ambushers when alerted. There's also engineers whose job it is to set traps and barricade and reinforce walls. The final type is the bomber. These guys are sort of like the juggernauts from some of the older Call of Duty games. They have high armor, lots of power in the form of an assault rifle, and they're also rigged with an explosive suicide bomber vest. When they see you, they'll charge at you, and you'll see their vest lights change from blue to orange as they arm the device and rush you. You'll have mere seconds to drop them before they close the range and put you down. Sometimes you don't even have that much notice, and they can come around a corner or stairs and detonate almost instantly. The final release will have 4 versions of this game mode. There will be Terrorist Hunt Classic, which is what we're playing in the beta now. The objective is simple: kill all the bad guys. Then there's the bomb defusal version of Terrorist Hunt, which was shown off at E3 over the summer. This mixes in objectives of going to 2 randomly determined positions and defusing bombs while fending off an assault to try to stop you from doing so. Prior to, and in between defusal attempts, you'll have to also deal with normal bad guys to engage as you get past them to make your way to the objective positions. There will also be a hostage rescue mode. You'll have to grab the hostage and get him to safety while navigating terrorist-filled maps. These 3 modes allow you to select from the pool of attacker-based operatives. The 4th mode is a little different in that it allows you to choose only defensive operators as you dig in and attempt to withstand a position under siege. I'd really like to see them open up all character classes regardless of which type of terrorist hunt you're doing. Defensive operators like Pulse and Rook or Doc would all be really useful in a normal terrorist hunt. Even someone that's not immediately obvious as useful in such a mode could be put to use. A perfect example of this is Castle. He could place reinforced barricades over doors so the team doesn't get flanked easily during the play. To balance things out though, you'd probably not want to allow the defender operatives to have unlimited barricades as they played. But then again, it may not matter all that much. Likewise, in the defensive mode, it would be useful to be able to take attacker-based operatives as well. Having more firepower from assault rifles and light machine guns would be a welcome addition. Triggering a cluster charge at an incoming group of enemies or using IQ sensor to scan for incoming bombers would also be useful. Being able to select both attackers and defenders working side by side throughout the terrorist hunt missions would be a lot of fun. Speaking of bombers, these guys are a little bit too strong. They are complete bullet sponges. While headshots can take them down fairly quickly, you have to either get lucky or line up on a nice long hallway and try to bait them to rush you with some running room in a straight line to give you the chance to get that shot. Sometimes you can come on them while they're standing still and drop them easily. But most of the time they're encountered walking around, and they just turn and rush you. The vest lights go from blue to orange, and then they detonate instantly, killing 1 or more of your team as they rush into melee range. For a terrorist allegedly carrying so much armor, they can run pretty fast, all things considered. When I tried playing Lone Wolf with a heavy armor or shield operator, I literally couldn't backpedal fast enough to reload. If I didn't find that headshot before I had to reload, it was over. As you can see, aiming down the sights with a pistol sort of covers up the target to a certain degree, making this especially difficult. It's weird though, because once you draw out the 2 overly aggressive bombers in the beginning, the rest of the terrorist hunt is much easier by comparison, as the other archetypes aren't these super mutant machines. I think the solution here is to maybe reduce their running speed just a little bit, which would certainly be fair given all that armor they're wearing. Or maybe they could at least be slowed down a bit as you pump rounds into them. For the most part, they just shrug it off and keep coming as it is now. Anyone with a pistol or shotgun is at a real disadvantage when dealing with these guys, and if you're on Lone Wolf, it's really a struggle on the higher difficulty settings to deal with them. They also lock on like a heat-seeking missile and ignore anything else to come at you. Here they just go right around my teammate, even though he shot them a few times after I began running away. The bomber had already locked onto me though, and nothing else mattered. Fortunately, I wasn't a heavy class, and this was outside, so I could get some distance, but he literally ignored my teammate just to aggressively sprint across half the map to get me. When you make your first kill, you tend to have both bombers rush you within about 10 seconds on the smaller maps, and perhaps twice that on the bigger maps. I don't think this was exactly how they intended the experience of Bomber to play out, but it does anyway. Given the variety of behaviors from the other archetypes, you get a really interesting mix of encounters. Hearing the engineers go around the map and throw out more barbed wire or continue to reinforce walls is great, as it makes the environment feel really dynamic. The ambushers lying in wait are great too. It would be nice to see them pop little murder holes in the walls to shoot you through though, to engage in more realistic ambushing behaviors if possible. Traps are a cool feature. Barbed wire and nitro cells are pretty abundant, but things can get a little silly when you enter a room and it's filled with a dozen blocks of C4 in a bathroom. I know this is meant as an area denial sort of tactic, but it just comes off as a little bizarre. It does work well though when it's done with barbed wire, but when it's done with C4 it just breaks immersion a bit because it makes no sense. I'd also like to see some other types of traps employed here. I think a version of Smoke's gas grenades could be really effective tools for the AI to have as traps, just like they use the nitro cells. I'm not sure if there's a way to implement it or not, but it would be really slick if there was a way that the AI could use the defensive camera system just like players can, so they could see you coming. That way you'd have to take out the cameras as you go too, just like in PvP mode. The AI does seem to flank a lot, and that's great. I love engaging someone in the living room, and having to worry about someone from the foyer running through the kitchen to try to get me from behind. That's realistic, and I really enjoy that dynamic. I've heard of others saying that sometimes additional units will spawn in and appear out of nowhere. I haven't personally encountered this yet. Hopefully some kind of algorithm or check and balance system can be implemented to check against player positions and spawn from the furthest possible point from any player, as well as check for player line of sight. Given that most of the enemies are pre-populated, and it's only numbers that are higher than 20 that seem to need to spawn in, this shouldn't be too hard to do. I'm assuming the reason for this is something to do with memory or other resource limitations, and going above this fixed number required a workaround to keep performance optimal. As long as it's kept an invisible process to the player, it should be fine having a few additional reinforcements show up to keep enemy density sufficiently high. It seems like they mostly spawn from the exterior grounds of the map when they do. In regards to the exterior grounds, this is one area in Terrace Hunt that is sorely underused. Once the players are heard taking shots or otherwise engaging the AI, they will occasionally step out of the structure. That's good, but it's purely reactionary. I'd like to see anywhere from 3 to 5 randomly patrolling roamers on the exterior grounds of the map as well when you first start. Maybe 1 or 2 of these are even placed on the roof as snipers with assault rifles or something. Again, line of sight to player spawn should be preserved so they don't spawn kill you, and they would remain unaware of your presence until they establish line of sight with you or were otherwise alerted. This would mean I would have to be cautious even approaching the structure in the first place. It feels too safe right now in the exterior grounds before the action begins. Also, maybe some AI could hide outside when they exit the main structure, or when they spawn from the exterior so that a little more action takes place on the grounds. Right now their interaction with the exterior seems limited to rushing the player position, either to rush from inside to come out to get them, or from spawning outside to rushing back in to get to the players. Having some actually leave the building, or start outside and actually set up and wait for the player to come to them, would be a neat behavior to see as well. Perhaps it would only be the roamer and ambusher archetypes that did this. I was disappointed to see that under the difficulty selection screen, it read that enemy damage and accuracy increased with the difficulty, as did friendly fire damage. This is too simple of a way to increase difficulty. It also doesn't make any sense. So if I put it to hard, somehow 9mm rounds do more damage than before? And if I put it on realistic, they somehow do even more damage? Rather than just making enemies faster, stronger, or more accurate, do things that make sense. Maybe on higher difficulty, they wear actual body armor, which has the effect of making them take a couple of extra hits to drop, but you actually see the character models wearing body armor to reflect that. If you want them to do more damage, limit them to lower caliber weapons on lower difficulty and higher caliber weapons on harder difficulty. Things that actually make sense to explain why these things are happening. Another way to deal with difficulty would be to add additional objectives. Download the surveillance footage off the laptop, or plant a bug on the phone, or place a tracking beacon on a car. Things like that. By making the player complete more objectives, you create more opportunities for things to go wrong for the player, and the challenge goes up in a logical way. Pair this up with dynamic elements like doing one of these objectives before being spotted, or within a certain time limit, or in a certain order, and you'd have some pretty good difficulty modifiers. If nothing else, they'd add variety. The only other problem with difficulty is renown. The amount that you earn for increasing the difficulty setting is ridiculous. On normal, you get around 90 or so. Going to hard seems to only give you like another 30 to 50, and realistic is a similar jump. Completing Terrorist Hunt on realistic should net me more renown than I get for losing a match of PvP. That's just ridiculous that it doesn't. It should also scale to a certain degree. There's a big difference in difficulty from playing realistic with a good team of friends and playing it lone wolf. The renown amount should reflect this. Overall, I find Terrorist Hunt and Siege to be the most enjoyable form of this mode on any of the Rainbow Six titles so far. It also feels uniquely distinct from the PvP mode and feels very satisfying. I do wish the frame rate didn't seem to reduce between the PvP and PvE modes, and there are a few minor tweaks I'd like to see as mentioned. All of that aside, this is a fantastic mode of play, and I've been having tons of fun with it. I can't wait until the full release comes, and the other 3 variations of Terrorist Hunt are also mixed in with the remaining 8 maps that haven't been shown. I find the slower, more tactical pacing of the mode to be really enjoyable. Working with friends to overcome challenges is a lot of fun, and one of the best things about this game. What tweaks or changes would you like to see in this mode of play? Let us know down below in the comments, or head on over to the forums or subreddit to talk about it there. If you like the in-depth videos, please like and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest news, info, and commentary regarding Rainbow Six Siege. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.